You want to know what separates the people who get walked over their entire lives from the ones who quietly become untouchable. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even intelligence. It's the moment, one specific brutal moment, when a person looks at themselves dead in the mirror and says, "That version of me is done. Not healed, not fixed, not forgiven, done." Right now, there are people in your life who think they know you. They have a picture of you in their head. They know how you react. They know what hurts you. They know how to push your buttons, how to dismiss you, how to use you, and walk away smiling. And here's the thing that keeps most people stuck forever. They keep showing those same people the same version of themselves. Day after day, year after year. Same reactions, same patterns, same weakness dressed up in different clothes. Niccolò Machiavelli spent his entire life studying power, not the surface of power, not the pretty speeches, but the raw mechanics of it. Why some people rise, why some people fall, why some people get used and discarded while others quietly accumulate influence, respect, and control. And what he found wasn't comfortable, it wasn't warm, it wasn't what people wanted to hear. What he found was this: the world does not reward who you are inside. The world responds to what you project, how you move, and whether or not you can be read. This video is not for people who want motivation. This video is for people who are done. Done being the nice one who gets used. Done explaining themselves to people who never listen. Done waiting for someone to recognize their worth. This is a complete breakdown of how to destroy your old self, deliberately, systematically, and rebuild from the ground up as someone who can never be manipulated, exploited, or disrespected again. Stay with me, because every piece connects to the next. Before we begin, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am starting over. Number 1, the moment of collapse. Most people think strategy is something you use when you're winning. You sit at the top, you have leverage, you have options, and then you strategize. That's what movies show. That's what most people believe. Machiavelli would laugh at that. Real strategy doesn't begin when you're comfortable. Real strategy begins when you've hit the floor. When something, a betrayal, a failure, a humiliation, a loss, strips away every illusion you had about yourself and the people around you. That moment of collapse, that's not a tragedy. That's the beginning. Think about it this way. Before the collapse, you were operating on assumptions. You assumed certain people were loyal. You assumed your effort would be recognized. You assumed that being a good person would protect you. You assumed the world would be fair if you just tried hard enough. Collapse destroys those assumptions. And destroying false assumptions, no matter how painful, is the first move of every real strategist. Machiavelli once said, "Never waste the opportunity offered by a good crisis." He wasn't talking about exploiting other people's misfortune. He was talking about your own moments of crisis. He was saying, when your old world breaks apart, you have a rare window, a window that most people slam shut by running back to comfort, to see clearly, think clearly, and rebuild on truth instead of illusion. The people who come back stronger from failure are not lucky. They didn't find some secret resource that others don't have. They did one thing differently. They used the pain instead of running from it. They sat down in the wreckage, looked at it without flinching, and said, "What does this tell me?" Your collapse is telling you something right now. Whether it's telling you that you gave trust to the wrong people, whether it's telling you that your habits were slowly destroying you, whether it's telling you that the image you had of yourself didn't match reality. Listen to it. Don't scroll past it. Don't drink it away. Don't distract yourself until it goes quiet. The moment you're in right now, this uncomfortable, uncertain, stripped-down moment, is the most strategically valuable moment you will ever have. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Pain is my data. Number 2, identity destruction. Here's something almost nobody will tell you because it sounds harsh and people don't like harsh. Your old identity is the problem, not bad luck. The version of you that was built by those things. Think about who you became over years of trying to fit in, years of trying to be liked, years of softening your edges so people would be comfortable around you, years of shrinking yourself so you wouldn't threaten anyone. Years of over-explaining, over-apologizing, over-giving and under-demanding. That person, that careful, approval-seeking, people-pleasing, emotionally reactive person, was built for survival in a weak environment. Not for power, not for respect, not for strategic living. And here's the brutal truth. If you rebuild on that same identity, just with new goals and better habits, you will eventually collapse again. Because the foundation is rotten. Machiavelli once said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." I want to extend that. The first method for estimating the direction of your life is to look at the identity you've been operating from. Because your identity determines your decisions. Your decisions determine your relationships. Your relationships determine your outcomes. Killing the old identity is not a metaphor. It is a deliberate act. It means stopping behaviors you've normalized. It means ending relationships that only existed because your old self needed validation. It means no longer performing the version of yourself that others are comfortable with. This is not about becoming cold or cruel. This is about becoming real, becoming the version of yourself that isn't defined by other people's comfort. The version that operates from intention, not habit, from clarity, not fear. Most people never do this because it feels like a loss, and it is a loss. You will lose the approval of people who only liked the version of you they could control. You will lose the comfort of familiar patterns that feel safe but keep you stuck. Let it go. This is not healing. This is reconstruction, and you cannot build something new on a broken foundation. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I burn the blueprint. Number 3, cold detachment and silence. The world is loud. Everybody has an opinion about you, what you should do, who you should be, why your plans won't work, what your past says about your future, and here's the trap. The more emotionally raw you are, the more recently you've been broken, the more you want to hear those voices. Because humans default to seeking comfort when they're hurt. And voices, even critical voices, feel like connection. This is where most people make their worst decisions, right after collapse. When they're most emotionally open, when they're most likely to accept someone else's narrative about who they are and what they're worth. Machiavelli once said, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." Before you can change your conduct, you have to silence the noise. You have to create space where other people's voices cannot reach you. That means stepping back from people who are too comfortable giving you unsolicited opinions about your life. It means getting off the platforms where comparison and noise are the product. It means, in some cases, being alone long enough to hear yourself think. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a weapon. When you go quiet, truly quiet, you stop leaking information. You stop giving people emotional data they can use to predict you. You stop reacting in ways that tell others exactly where your edges are. And simultaneously, silence creates something powerful: mystery. People become uncertain about you. They can't read you. They don't know what you're thinking, what you're planning, or whether you care about what they're doing. That uncertainty is leverage. Stop seeking validation from people who are not operating at the level you're trying to reach. Stop explaining your moves before you make them. Stop announcing transformations that haven't happened yet. Go quiet. Observe. Rebuild in private. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Silence builds power. Number 4. Self-analysis as intelligence gathering. Most people look at their past and feel one of two things: shame or nostalgia. Either they're beating themselves up for what went wrong, or they're romanticizing what used to be good. Both of those are emotional responses. And emotional responses to your past are useless, sometimes even dangerous. A strategist doesn't look at the past with feelings. A strategist looks at the past with questions. Where exactly was I weak? Not generally. Specifically. At what moments did my emotions override my judgment? When did I give trust that wasn't earned? When did I ignore warning signs because I wanted something to be true? When did I prioritize being liked over being respected? Machiavelli once said, "A wise man ought always to follow the paths beaten by great men, and to imitate those who have been supreme. Before you can imitate what's right, you have to dissect what was wrong. With precision, without flinching. This is intelligence gathering on yourself. Treat your memories like case files. Every betrayal, every failure, every moment you got played, there's a pattern in there. There's something you did or didn't do that created the opening. Identify the pattern, name it, write it down if you have to. Because the worst thing you can do is go through pain and learn nothing from it. That's how people repeat the same cycles with different people and different circumstances, same outcome every time. Your past is not a story about you. It's strategic data. Use it. Identify where your habits of overtrust live. Identify which types of people you consistently gave too much to. Identify the emotional triggers that made you act before you thought. And then, this is the critical part, design your new self around closing those gaps. Not by becoming paranoid, by becoming precise. Number 5. Resource and energy elimination. You cannot build something powerful while bleeding from 100 small wounds. Most people who want to change their lives underestimate how much energy is being drained before they even start. There are people in your life who are drawing from you constantly. Relationships built on you giving and them taking. Friendships held together by your loyalty and their convenience. There are habits you've normalized that are slowly destroying your focus, your discipline, and your sense of self. Things you do every day that feel harmless because they've been there so long, but they are quietly keeping you at the same level. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." To be the fox, to recognize traps, you have to see your life clearly. And to see clearly, you have to eliminate the static. This means making ruthless decisions about your circle. Not angry decisions, not emotional ones, ruthless ones. Cold, strategic evaluation of every person in your environment. Does this person make me stronger or weaker? Do I leave interactions with this person clearer or more confused? Does this relationship require more than it returns? People who drain your energy are not always bad people. They are just incompatible with where you're going. And keeping them in your life because of guilt or history is a strategic mistake. Same with habits. Examine what you do with your time, your attention, your money. Every weak habit is a leak. Every undisciplined hour is resources walking out the door. Cut the leaks. Not gradually, not starting next week. Now, your life should be treated like a controlled system, every input evaluated, every output measured. This is not obsession. This is seriousness. People who win consistently are not necessarily smarter or more talented. They are simply more selective with where they allow their energy to go. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I cut what drains. Number 6. Image reconstruction. Now you've done the work internally. You've identified the weaknesses. You've eliminated the drains. You've begun rebuilding in silence. Now comes something most people skip, and it's why their transformation never lands the way they want it to. Image reconstruction. Understand something. The world doesn't respond to your intentions. The world responds to what it perceives. Two people can undergo the exact same internal transformation, but if one of them understands how to project that transformation, through posture, through silence, through the way they carry themselves, through the way they respond to situations, and the other one doesn't, the world will treat them completely differently. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This was not cynicism. This was realism, and it's still true today. You need to build a new image, not a fake image. The worst thing you can do is project something you haven't actually become. People can smell that. It collapses under pressure. But you need to be deliberate about what you show and what you don't show. Mystery is power. When people can't fully read you, when they sense depth but can't access it, they naturally assign you more weight. They're careful around you. They respect you by default because the unknown commands more respect than the familiar. Stop over-explaining yourself. Stop justifying your decisions to people who don't deserve an explanation. Stop filling every silence with words. Let your presence do the work. Walk into rooms like you've already decided something. Respond to challenges with calm instead of reaction. Let your results speak before your words do. Rebuild your image not by announcement, by embodiment. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Mystery is my armor. Number 7. Psychological firewall. As you rebuild, something will happen that you need to be prepared for. People will test you. Some will do it consciously. Former rivals, people who benefited from your old weaknesses, people who are threatened by your change. They will provoke you. They will say things designed to pull you back to who you used to be. They will try to reopen old wounds to see if you still flinch. Others will do it unconsciously. Old friends who are used to your patterns. Family members who are more comfortable with the old you. People who don't want you to change because your change implicitly challenges them. And social media, news, comparison culture, all of it is designed to fracture your focus and pull your attention away from what you're building. Machiavelli once said, "The first impression that one gets of a ruler and of his brains is from seeing the men that he has about him." Your psychological firewall is about deciding, before the tests come, what gets through and what doesn't. Distractions that have nothing to do with your goals. Blocked. Provocations from people who want to see you react. Blocked. Opinions from people who haven't earned the right to evaluate you. Blocked. This is not arrogance. This is selectivity. There is a difference between a person who ignores everyone because they think they're better and a person who filters carefully because they understand that attention is finite and focus is power. Become unreactive, not cold, not robotic, just unreactive. When someone expects you to explode and you give them calm, the power in the room shifts immediately. You win without a single word. Your new self does not take the bait. It does not rise to provocations. It does not descend into arguments that serve no strategic purpose. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Stay focused. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I don't take bait. Number 8. Controlled coldness and emotional discipline. There's a dangerous misconception that emotional strength means not having emotions, that the goal is to become robotic, to feel nothing, express nothing, need nothing. That's not what Machiavelli taught. That's not what any serious strategist practices. Emotional discipline is not the absence of emotion. It is command over emotion. It is the ability to feel something fully, anger, hurt, desire, fear, and choose deliberately how and when and whether to express it. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Notice what he said, if you cannot be both. He understood the value of warmth. He understood that connection and loyalty matter. But he also understood that a person who cannot control their emotional output will always be at the mercy of whoever knows how to trigger them. Here's what emotional discipline looks like in practice. Someone disrespects you. Your first instinct is to react immediately, to defend yourself, to attack back, to prove a point. The disciplined response. Observe the emotion. Name it internally. I'm angry right now. Let it exist without acting on it instantly. Then, only then, decide whether a response is even worth your time. This is not suppression. Suppression builds pressure until things explode. This is strategic expression. You decide what gets out, when, and why. Maintain distance without appearing hostile. There's a version of this, someone you're keeping at arm's length for strategic reasons, where you can still be polite, even warm, without being vulnerable. Distance is not rudeness, it's positioning, and when you do express emotion, when you choose to show warmth or displeasure or enthusiasm, it lands harder. Because people know you don't broadcast it all the time. They know it means something. That selectivity is its own form of power. Number 9. Revenge through evolution. Let's talk about something that nobody says out loud, but almost everybody feels. After a betrayal, after a humiliation, after someone tried to break you, there is a part of you that wants them to see it, to see that you survived, to see that you came back, to see that what they did didn't destroy you, it built you. That feeling is not petty, that feeling is fuel. The mistake most people make is trying to act on it too soon. They argue, they post sub-tweets, they go out of their way to prove they're doing fine when they're not yet. They make public statements about their growth before the growth has actually happened. Machiavelli once said, "Appear as you may wish to be." But the operative word is appear, and you can only authentically appear as something you've actually become. So the most devastating revenge, the kind that is permanent, the kind that cannot be argued with, is becoming. Disappear, rebuild. Return as someone who makes it obvious that everything that tried to break them only made them more formidable. No arguments, no explanations, no social media battles, just results. When someone who tried to use you, dismiss you, or destroy you sees the version of you that came back, and they see it with their own eyes, undeniably in real life, that is revenge that lasts forever. And here's the extra layer that most people miss. The rebuilding process itself, done right, removes the desire for revenge entirely. Because when you're genuinely evolving, when your life is genuinely expanding, when your focus is genuinely forward, you stop caring whether they see it or not. The success is no longer for them, it's just yours. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Evolution is my revenge. Number 10. Strategic return. At some point, the private work becomes visible. At some point, you re-enter spaces, professional, social, personal, and people encounter the new version of you. How you handle this moment matters enormously. The instinct most people have is to announce the change, to explain what they've been through, to describe the work they've done, to make sure people understand how different they are now. Resist that instinct completely. Machiavelli once said, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." You don't need to tell people you've changed. Your presence will tell them. Your responses will tell them. The way you carry yourself, the decisions you make, the things you no longer react to, all of it communicates the change without a single word. People should feel the difference before they can explain it. That feeling, that uncertain recognition that something is different, something has shifted, something is no longer where it was, is more powerful than any speech you could give. Return with presence, not explanation. Return with results, not promises. Return with options, not desperation. The strategic return is not dramatic. It's not a scene. It's quiet, assured, and unmistakable. You simply show up as someone who has done the work, and let that fact exist on its own. The people who treated you like a temporary option will notice. The people who underestimated you will recalibrate. And the people who were waiting to see whether you'd actually rebuild, they'll know. None of that requires your words. Number 11. Continuous evolution mindset. Here's the most dangerous thing that happens to people who successfully rebuild. They stop. They reach a level that feels good. They've gotten past the failure. They have better relationships, better habits, better results. And they settle. They relax. They stop the discipline that got them there because the urgency of survival is gone. And then, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, they start slipping. Old patterns creep back. Complacency sets in. And eventually, a new collapse. Machiavelli once said, "The one who adapts his policy to the times prospers, and likewise the one whose policy clashes with the demands of the times does not." The world is always changing. The competitive landscape in your career is always shifting. Relationships that work today need maintenance tomorrow. Personal weaknesses you've managed don't disappear. They need to be continuously managed. The strategist's mindset is not, "I fix the problem." It is, "I am always reading the situation." Never stop rebuilding, not because something is broken, but because growth is a direction, not a destination. The version of you that won today is not the version of you that will win in 5 years. And the moment you think you've arrived, the moment you stop evolving, someone who is still hungry, still adapting, still improving, will quietly close the gap. Build continuous improvement into your identity, not as a burden, but as a standard. Adapt before you have to. Rebuild before something forces you to. Stay ahead of the next collapse instead of waiting for it to happen. Number 12. The 5 non-negotiable laws. Everything we've covered comes down to these 5 laws. These are the lines you do not cross. Not when you're emotional, not when you're tired, not when circumstances seem to justify an exception. Treat these as the operating system of your new self. Law 1. Never publicly expose your pain. Pain is real. Pain is valid. Pain is information. But pain displayed in public, especially in front of people who may not have your best interests at heart, becomes a weakness they can file away and use. Not always maliciously. Sometimes people use your pain against you without even realizing it. They just know where the soft spots are. Process your pain. Work through it. But keep it private. Your inner circle, your journal, your therapist, fine. But the internet, casual acquaintances, co-workers, never. Machiavelli once said, Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. What people see shapes what they believe about you. Protect your optics, especially when you're vulnerable. Law 2. Keep a small, powerful circle, quality over quantity, every single time. 3 people who are genuinely invested in your success, who are honest with you, who challenge you to be better. That is worth more than 30 people who enjoy your company when things are good, but disappear under pressure. A large network of weak connections is noise. A small circle of strong connections is infrastructure. Be selective. Be patient. Wait for relationships that are worth having. Law 3. Observe emotions before expressing them. You've heard this earlier, but it deserves its own law because it is that important. Before every significant emotional expression, before you send that message, before you have that confrontation, before you make that decision from a place of hurt or anger, pause. Observe what you're feeling. Ask why you're feeling it. Ask what outcome you actually want, and then decide whether expressing this emotion serves that outcome. Sometimes it will. Sometimes you need to say the hard thing. Sometimes you need to set the record straight. But more often than most people want to admit, the emotion doesn't need to be expressed. It needs to be processed, and acting on it would cost you more than staying quiet would. Law 4. Speak with purpose, not emotion. Words spoken from emotion are almost always regretted. Words spoken with precision, chosen carefully, delivered calmly, aimed at a specific outcome. Those are the words that land. Those are the words people remember. Those are the words that shift power in a room. Fewer words, heavier words, words that mean something because you don't waste them. The person who speaks least often carries the most authority in a room, because every time they open their mouth, people know it's worth listening. Law 5. Never rebuild the same version twice. This is the law most people violate without realizing it. They go through the collapse, they do some of the work, they feel a bit better, and then, because the old version is familiar, comfortable, known, they quietly rebuild it, just with some adjustments, just slightly improved. That's not reconstruction, that's renovation. Renovation keeps the same foundation, the same core assumptions, the same fundamental identity that created the vulnerabilities in the first place. You must rebuild differently every time, not because different is always better, but because the next version of you should be built with everything the previous version learned. Not a slightly updated copy, a fundamentally upgraded design. Machiavelli once said, "One change always leaves the way open for the establishment of others." Every transformation opens a door to the next one. Walk through it. If you've made it this far, you're not here by accident. You didn't click on this video because things are going great and you have nothing to think about. You're here because something in you recognized what was being offered, a real path. Not comfort, not empty motivation, a real strategic blueprint for becoming someone who cannot be broken the same way twice. Here's what I want you to take away from everything you just heard. You are not a fixed thing. The version of you that got hurt, that got used, that got underestimated, that version was built in a specific environment under specific pressures. It is not permanent. It is not your ceiling. It is just what happened to you before you understood the game. Now, you understand the game. Strategy begins in collapse. Identity must be rebuilt from the ground up. Silence is a weapon. Your past is intelligence data. Your energy is a resource. Protect it. Your image must be reconstructed with intention. Your emotions must be commanded, not suppressed. Your evolution is your revenge. Return stronger. Never stop rebuilding. and live by the 5 laws, every single day without exception. The people who changed their lives didn't wait for perfect conditions. They started from exactly where they were, broken, uncertain, maybe angry, but decided. Be decided. If this video gave you something real, something you're going to carry with you and actually use, hit the like button and share this video with someone who is going through something hard right now. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Because everything we're building here is about one thing: giving you the real information, the real frameworks, the real strategic thinking that most people never get access to. We're not done. We're just getting started. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, the most powerful version of you is not behind you. It's ahead of you. Go build it. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am built different.